Hi, I am Lynn Jibril, the librarian in charge of education. This video describes plagiarism. What is plagiarism? Plagiarism is intellectual dishonesty expressed as using the words, ideas, images, or data of someone else as your own work. Plagiarism is producing work which incorporates references to materials or references that you have not inspected or read. It is using the flow of ideas of someone else as your own work, even if you alter the wording. So, whenever you are using someone else's ideas, acknowledge that use, give credit to that use by providing a citation or a reference. Show respect, give credit where it's due. Plagiarism is further described by the Oxford English Dictionary as the action or practice of taking someone else's work and ideas and passing them off as your own. Literary theft. It is an act of forgery, piracy and fraud considered to be a serious crime of academics and breach of copyright rule. It undermines academic integrity because it is a form of lying and stealing. Merriam-Webber dictionary also defined plagiarism as stealing and passing off ideas of someone else as your own. It is also defined as using another production without crediting the source, committing literary theft, or presenting a new and original idea or product derived from an existing source. Examples of plagiarism include but are not limited to copying another person's work and submitting it as your work, presenting work completed by someone else as their own, taking an idea from somewhere else and submitting it as your own, copying text without referencing it, paraphrasing someone else's work too closely and submitting it as your own, copying diagrams, photographs, images, charts, tables, clip art and presenting them as your own. Examples of plagiarism also include direct copying. Direct copying is when you take an extract or an excerpt from the original source without referencing, without citing. The example that is reflected here shows the original text as opposed to a text that is directly copied from the original. You can see that the text that has been plagiarized is literally the same as the original source. The only difference is that this one has been summarized. It's a shorter version of the original text, however, without a reference or a citation. Partial copying is another example of direct copying. It's another example of plagiarism. Partial copying is only taking some parts of the original text and presenting them as your own without necessarily citing or referencing. So, how can we avoid plagiarism? We can avoid plagiarism by citing and referencing or paraphrasing. Why should we bother about citing? As I have already mentioned in the previous slide, citing is good practice. It is good practice because it helps you avoid plagiarizing. One of the definitions have indicated that plagiarism is a serious crime. So we should bother to cite in order to allow the reader to follow your path of thought and to go back to the sources that you have used if they need more information. You should cite in order to guard against accusations of plagiarism. And citation is easy to do once you have adopted a referencing style and learnt it. It actually shows that you have considered a lot more sources when you were doing your work. What should we credit, or what needs to be credited? Quotation. If you pick up a quotation from elsewhere, whether it's in a book, it's in a journal, it's in a video, it's part of somebody's speech, you have to credit that, because you are actually acknowledging that those are not your actual words, but they were said by somebody else. And so when you cite that particular quotation, you are actually showing that you appreciate the work of the original or the creator of that quotation. What should be cited, what should be credited also is paraphrase. What is paraphrasing? I've mentioned paraphrase, but we haven't really defined what paraphrasing is. Paraphrasing is a restatement of someone else's work. It contains the same level of details as the original. It must be in your own words, so take care that you do not repeat distinctive words, phrases, or even the sentence structure of the original. Paraphrase express meaning of something using different words, especially to achieve greater clarity. Paraphrasing is also using your own words to convey the meaning of an excerpt. Tips on paraphrasing. In order for you to be able to paraphrase, you have to read and reread the passage until you fully understand its meaning. You have to write your own summary of the passage without referencing the original. You have to check that your summary accurately captures the content of the original passage. What to credit further includes products of someone else's work, such as illustrations, images, charts, and graphs, data sets, and computer codes. If you use someone else's graphic table, figures, or artwork, you must credit the source. These may also require permissions and copyright notice. We have to also credit sources from all media, such as print sources, articles, journals, and so forth. We also have to credit electronic sources such as databases, websites, web pages, electronic books. Broadcasts such as television. Supposing you have listened to a speech on television and there are some parts of the speech that you like, you must acknowledge that you got them from somebody on TV. Verbal sources such as lectures, conference seminars, speakers are some of the things that have got to be credited. How can we avoid plagiarism? I think we have mentioned earlier on that plagiarism can be avoided through citation, through referencing, through paraphrasing. When you cite, you have to make sure that you cite every source of information you use in order to build on credibility. Use a citation manager such as EndNote, Mendeley, Zotero, because this will help you to cite accurately and to keep your notes together with the correct source. Use a statement that makes it clear you are referencing another source. For example, according to such and such a person, or as explained by, or this view was echoed by so that you make it clear from the onset that this is somebody's work or this is somebody's saying. Express ideas in your own words by paraphrasing or summarizing core concepts and avoid the temptation to copy and paste. Properly reference materials used. Proper referencing demonstrates that you have read widely and you know who the leading subject field specialists are. Think independently and critically and acknowledge the source at all times using the method prescribed by the department or the subject field. As we have mentioned earlier on, there are different citation styles and they differ from faculty to faculty or subject to subject. Also, keep track of sources you consulted in your research. Use a plagiarism detective software, and there are several of these, such as Killboard, Plexcan, and many others that are available free online. Plagiarism has got serious consequences. The consequences vary from mild to severe, and some of the consequences include failing grades. If you are found to have plagiarized, you may get 0 or you may get low marks and be penalized for plagiarism. One of the other consequences you may get is that you may be expelled from your study. And the other consequence is that in the event that you have already gotten your degree, that degree can be revoked. Plagiarism is an academic misconduct even if it is unintentional. So avoid plagiarism by doing the right things: referencing, paraphrasing, citing, quoting. All those can take you away from plagiarism. There are several citation and referencing styles that are available that you may like to look into and learn and get to use them in order to avoid plagiarism. And these are American Psychological Association, abbreviated as APA, Harvard, Chicago, Modern Language Association, abbreviated as MLA, Vancouver, Journal Specific Methods, Specialist Methods, e.g. Blue Book for Legal Works. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, please be informed, stay informed, be empowered, know and understand what counts as plagiarism, and make all effort to guard against it. Get yourself acquainted to the University of Botswana academic dishonesty policy so that you stay in the right direction. UB academic dishonesty policy penalties range from written warning, suspension, or expulsion from the university. Always apply the principle of fair use of information. Copying of copyrighted materials done for a limited and transformative purpose, such as to comment upon, criticize, or parody. Photocopying of the whole book is prohibited.